Welcome to Leapcast. I'm your host, Dr. George James. Leap stands for leaders, entertainers, athletes, and performers. And I'm on a journey to connect with high achievers and highlight their unexamined human moments. Tune in to learn how these high-achieving Leap individuals were able to reach their greatest potential, face their most difficult challenges, and embrace the human moments that helped them along the way. If you want to get the episode highlights directly in your email, then head to theleapcast.com right now to subscribe. Today, I have the honor, the privilege to bring on a very good friend, a very good new friend, relatively, that I just appreciate so much. Taniya Nayak has been so amazing. She's done so many great things. She's a celebrity interior designer. I'm so curious and excited about this conversation. So Taniya, thanks for joining Leapcast today. How are you doing? Thanks for being here and all of that.
George, thank you. First, I'm super excited to chat with you because I'm always excited to chat with you, number one. We have such a great connection and you're just such an awesome person. So I'm really pumped about this new podcast of yours. I'm sure it's going to just fly off the charts.
Oh, well, thank you. I will take that energy and that positivity and put it out there. So, part of what this podcast is just learning more about people and just having these great conversations. And I'm excited, too, about what we're going to talk about today. The first part that I really like to do is what we call the Leap story, which is more about just learning more about you and how you got to where you are. How did you get to this part of your life and this part of your career? So if you just take us a little bit through your journey, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. For people out there who don't really know a lot about my background, I know you mentioned I do interior design and television shows. Weird combination, but it is what it is. I grew up Indian American, and like most Indian people of my generation, if you ask them what it was like, what their expectations were from their parents, it was always the doctor, lawyer, engineer.
I was waiting for the engineer part.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I know you went to Villanova, right?
I did. And the reason why I say that is because a son of Jamaican parents is very similar, right?
Similar, right?
Doctor, lawyer, engineer, nurse.
I find that's kind of across the board with other areas around the world, and so I grew up kind of really gosh, I don't really know what I want to do because I've always been so creative. So I kind of went along with it. I went and I did my undergrad in business marketing.
Okay.
And only because, what's funny, and I'm sorry, I'm going to divert here for a second, but I was just talking to someone. I was just talking to someone the other day who had a master's in social media, a master's degree in social media, which makes a lot of sense. I know, neither did I. And me having a marketing background, I was like, well, it actually did make a lot of sense to me that this is what is all the marketing is through social media these days. So it does make a lot of sense. But back then, when we were going to school, I don't feel like there were that many creative, different opportunities for us to get these degrees in. So I was like, all right, business marketing it is. Seems as creative as I can get in that, the box, that my parents were kind of setting for me. So
it's business, right?
Yeah, exactly. Business. So I went to school for that and it was fine. I did a bunch of jobs after that I literally was like, nope, and nope. I mean, I worked as a hearing aid technician. They were all sales jobs. So sadly, that is a sales position. If someone doesn't know, if you go into, I won't name the names, but anyways.
I didn't think about that, but you're right. Yeah, it's about getting more sales for hearing aids, right?
Exactly. And if you can imagine, knowing me well enough by now to know I didn't make a single sale. Not a single sale. I couldn't
But you made good friends. I could believe you made good friends though.
Oh, I had a lot of bad coffee with a lot of sweet old people, and spent lots of time with them chatting. But I would always clean their hearing aids and I would fix them and I would just so I made no money. So needless to say, that was not the path I was going down. So after numerous jobs that just weren't a right fit for me, I literally had this moment of an aha kind of what am I doing? I'm too young. I can't be doing a job I hate for the rest of my life. So let me figure this out. And so I ended up waking up the next day, marched my butt right over to the Boston Architectural College. My dad is an architect.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I've always had this sort of creative side in my blood, but I knew I didn't really want to be an architect. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went to school. I got my master's in interior architecture. So this is where the interior design background comes from.
Okay.
And I don't want to bore everybody to
You're not boring
pieces here,
anyone.
but
I'm so
okay.
fascinated.
All
Look, it
right.
doesn't matter. It's me and you right now. So I'm so
Okay.
fascinated by what you're saying.
Well, thank you. So basically, I've always been a dancer,
Really?
since I was 5 years old. I've always been like the little entertainer in the family. I'm the youngest, I'm a Pisces. I just would always be running around putting on shows for my family.
I love
And
it.
then I was a bartender. So when you're bartending, you're kind of like
Hmm.
on stage too. I was in the school play. So I always like to kind of put myself out there. So an opportunity came up while I was working on my master's, and they said, "Hey guys, really great learning opportunity. There is an audition for a show, and we just think it'd be a great learning experience for you all. So we encourage all the students to go." And I was such whatever the dean
Yeah.
says, whatever the teacher says, I was always that person who'd go do it.
First one to raise
So I
a
was
hand.
like, oh,
I'll do it.
yeah, me. I'm always sitting front and center in the class. I'm that annoying person. So I ended up going and auditioning, and I got the job. And it was actually a show on ABC Family. So it wasn't just some small little show. It was like a
Yeah.
big national show. I ended up going international. And it was really the start of my career and the start of where my passion sparked, because I was like, whoa,
Oh,
this is a job. Like, I'm getting paid to do this? You're
yes.
kidding me. Which I think is the feeling that everybody should have with no matter what job they're doing. You should always be able to say, oh my God, am I getting paid to do this? What? So there's the background. So basically, that's how I kind of started with interior design, ended up in television, but now I do both design firm, juggle the shows.
I love like what you just shared, and it reminds me of some things that I say to people often about giving yourself permission, because I had to give myself permission. And I remember
Yes.
the moment for me was in college. I did some plays as well in high school, didn't do it in college, and then finishing college, I did one acting class. I'm like, I really like this. And then in my master's program, while I was learning to be a therapist, I was actively going on auditions, going to acting classes, doing it at the same time. People thought
Really?
I was crazy, right? But it was just something that I enjoyed. And so when I hear you, right, being able to say that, like, this is something that you enjoyed, when you moved to the architectural school and program. And I guess I'm wondering that moment where you said, you know what, I'm going to go get this master's. I'm going to go after this thing that's within me. What allowed you to do that?
I really had that. I know exactly the very minute that moment happened. My sister was working for a company that required travel. So she went to Spain, and she told my parents and I to like tag along, well, you guys can all crash in my room. And because I was a bartender, my hours were always off anyways. And then the time difference. So I was lying there in bed, and I just had that moment of like, gosh, I can't be doing these jobs that I'm just not fulfilled and happy with. So it was like a spark. And then I knew that as soon as I got home, I was going to go change this. But what's really crazy about this, George, is we were talking about like my family and the expectations and some of the pressure growing up. Most people wouldn't tell their parents if they were going to get a body piercing or a tattoo, right? I did not tell my parents I wanted to go get my master's degree, like, and what I wanted to do, because I didn't want anyone to change my mind. I just knew that I wanted to get into interior design, interior architecture. So I was like, I'm just going to go and do this. I'm going to sign up, and then I'm going to tell them. So I didn't have anyone persuading me to change my mind. So I guess if you ask me like really why I actually gave myself the permission, I don't really have an answer for that. I just knew that I wanted to be happy. That's it.
But that was so powerful, because so many times we have these moments in life where we want to be happy, but then we make decisions, or we have rules or family, and we don't allow ourselves to be happy. And I love
Mm-hmm.
like what you're saying, at least how I'm hearing this, is that sometimes when you make the decision to be happy, sometimes you got to protect it, even from those we're around,
Yes,
because if
that's
we
it.
don't protect it, like, they could try to take it from us, or we could give it away. You know how many times people give
100%.
away like their happiness or something that is
Oh my
meaningful
gosh.
for them? So like just hearing you say that is just so powerful. The thought of like, I want to do this. And then the part that I love, that I've experienced too in my own life, is there was a part in my life where I would just say yes to things. I would volunteer, even if I wasn't
Mm,
sure. And
yeah.
and so tell me about that moment, right? I know you were used to doing it, but when you volunteered and you realized it wasn't this small thing, like what was going, if you can remember, what was going through your mind during that experience?
When I volunteered to what? To go back to school?
Sorry, no, when you volunteered to do this project, this thing that they said would be nice, it ends up being this TV thing. Like, how did you?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The side dish. Um, you know what was really funny about it was sometimes in life we kind of put ourselves in what we think people want us to be, right? So and I bet it happens a lot with actors. If they go in for an audition, they kind of put on what they think they want that person to be.
Yeah,
So this wasn't really for a role. This is for a reality TV show. So I remember going in there and I just said, I'm going to be myself. And I remember I put on an outfit that I would have wore kind of like bartending, like I put on, I'll never forget it. I had these pink diesel track pants, a red tank top. I had my hair in two ponytails on top of my head, like Sporty Spice, you know, and
classic.
I yeah, but I think it was so fun for me because I didn't care. This is the answer to your question. I
Yeah.
didn't care if I got it or not. I just thought it was going to be a fun experience to audition. So to let go of that and to be able to just say, just have fun. Who cares? Like, am I really going to get the show? I mean, I know that shows a lack of confidence, but I wasn't worried about it. Oh my God, I'm just going to go and have a good time. But then as I went in and the audition went really well, then I was like, oh, I kind of really want this. And then, and then time went by and I didn't hear anything. I'm like, oh, I really want this.
Oh,
So,
that is so powerful. Like, I know there's so many times where I know for me and so many people I've worked with where we can wind ourselves up so much because we want it, right? We want it so much that we get so anxious and we're all in our heads. And then we can't just be, we can't perform or we can't just show who we are because we're thinking about all the possibilities. But you were able to just walk in there and just say like, this is me. And they felt it and they connected with you right in that moment. And so that's just awesome hearing like your
well,
journey. I do
I
want to
have
go back.
something to say
Oh,
about
go,
that
go
though,
ahead.
actually,
Go.
and it's interesting because it's helped me tremendously in my life with jobs and auditions and things, is to take that fear away because you have the strongest belief that's what is meant to be is going to happen, right? So for me, I could be this close to getting something that I've just always wanted, and then it falls apart and it doesn't happen. And sure, you're allowed to be disappointed.
Right.
Give yourself the permission to be disappointed or sad for a period of time. But being disappointed and sad is not going to change the outcome of what just happened. So pick yourself up and realize that whoever it is that you believe in or whatever it is you believe in did it to protect you from something, to protect you from the notion that maybe this didn't happen because it just wasn't for you and it wasn't right for you, and then move on and say thank you, like be grateful for the fact that it didn't happen because you never know why.
That is such an important mindset and way to, I think, to live life, right? To,
Mhm.
especially that last part where you said to be grateful for the disappointments. I mean, that's not something that you hear people say and offer a lot, but I think it's so true and so needed because we can be stuck in the disappointment and the
Mhm.
missed opportunities. I know I have. I would repeat. I'm like, I should have said that, or could have said that, or why didn't I do
Mhm.
that, or why didn't I wear that, whatever it might be. But sometimes it's just really being grateful. And so many times I've heard, especially from amazing, wonderful people like yourself, that those disappointments ended up turning out to be pretty timely or good or necessary
Mhm.
for whatever that next
Yes,
thing might have been.
absolutely.
I'm curious about, and maybe I'm curious because I have this identity where my parents were from another country. I was born in the States. And so I'm wondering for you, if you were born here in the US or if you were born in India or somewhere else, and
Mhm.
how do you think, if any, just a cultural identity shaped you in any way?
Really good question. So my parents, they came here before I was born. My dad brilliant man, full scholarship to MIT. So he kind of got here and got us grounded. I just coincidentally happened to be born in India. They went back for a vacation to visit family, and I was born there. So I was born in India, but conceived,
Right. It was here.
the whole
It
thing.
just happened to be
Yeah,
away. Oh,
it happened to be away. Yeah.
you're like, I'm ready. I'm coming.
Yeah. But by all accounts, I am 100% the first generation, obviously, here because my parents grew up in India. Their whole lives were spent there until he came here for his master's. So, um, how it shaped me growing up, as this is what you're asking, right? Second generation and having, yeah. It taught me a lot of different values that I do see with other friends of mine that have a similar situation where, I have a dear friend of mine who's from Croatia, and her family, she's first generation Canadian, but her parents are from Croatia. Another dear friend of mine, she's first generation Greek. I lots of Indian friends of mine growing up that are first generation. There's a core set of values and respect that we put towards family and friends, and there's just like um, it's a little different than what I've experienced in some other situations. Like there's just a priority that's put there. A level of respect also for our elders. Or whatever. But I don't know. I think just it shaped my work ethic in a way that sometimes I look back and it bothers me a little bit that because of the pressures that were put on growing up, sometimes I take on too much
Yeah.
because of the expectations of, what our parents expect from us. I look at them and I look at my mom and my dad and what they've built here, coming from another country, not knowing anybody, not having any money. I'm sure it's the same with your family as well, and it's pretty wild to see what they've achieved.
Yeah, I think about my family and I just don't know how they did it, right? Like
No, I
I
don't know.
like I'm a full adult and I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they
Yeah,
managed
right.
how they sacrificed their time, worked so hard, so many hours, so many jobs, and still had
Mhm.
time for family, for faith, for community. It when I think about it, I'm inspired. I also hear what you're saying. This thought of like we have to carry a lot, and then how that can show up in our work or what we take on. And I've heard so many people, especially a lot of high achievers, who say like they're just used to taking on a lot and not never navigating the balance. And so I guess as you said that, I'm wondering how did you figure out or figuring out balance in your life?
Dr. George, I'm glad we're talking today. I'm at a pivotal point in my career right now where I am trying to figure it out because I don't feel like I have balance. I feel like I am a little overwhelmed, to be quite honest. I'm taking on a lot of things and I'm getting older. I'm turning 49 in
Nobody
February.
knows that. No, that's not true. She's lying.
It is
She's like
true.
25.
No, yeah, yeah. It's that the Indian skin or whatever. I don't know,
That's
but
what they say, right? Well,
you
that's
know,
a whole nother
yeah,
show.
it's a whole other thing. Yeah, but thank you for saying that. No, I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I don't want to keep having to prove over and over and over and over again and keep adding more to my plate because the more I add to my plate, for some reason my plate keeps getting bigger and I have to keep filling it up again. It's like, yes, my plate's full and now all of a sudden it just grew. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out right now. I'm trying to figure out what I, I I know this is happening with everybody right now. Everyone's kind of rethinking and reshaping what they want in life. And that's a good thing. It's good to just not be overwhelmed and try to figure out what makes you happy.
No, I haven't thought about it in the way you just described. Right, this thought of like, all right, this mindset, and I've heard it and I've said it. I'm just putting some stuff on my plate, and then some things will get off the plate. But in reality, we keep putting it on, and yes, magically, the plate did get bigger.
Yeah.
I pulled it more than I ever did. Now I have three plates. How did that?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
exactly. I have a
a
big party platter going on right now.
how did that happen? And
Yeah.
and the weight of that and the challenge of that, and I think like, and at the same time still performing and still being successful and still being at the top of your game, which I know you are. but also trying to figure out what that looks like. And I think that is important. It's something that I'm thinking about and rethinking. And I think it's just so important of like, how do we figure that out? And especially those moments where we're like, we feel it, right? Where we're
Mhm.
like you said, I don't feel like having to prove myself anymore. I don't need to prove myself anymore.
Right,
I
but yet
am
we
amazing.
do. Yes, yes, exactly. And yet, and maybe this goes back to our heritage and our culture of constantly feeling like we have to prove ourselves, you know? You get to a point, there are times where with my business, I'm looking at a client and their budget, what they have, and I'm always trying to work with their budget, but then sometimes underselling and undervaluing
Mm,
myself
mm.
because I just want to make them happy, you know? And so sometimes I need to take a step back and think
No,
about that.
I appreciate that in terms of how many times high achieving, amazing people undervalue themselves.
Because
I've
we love what we do,
I've undervalued myself, right? Where,
of course.
and then as a result, I got to add more to get to my value, which then once again makes me have like this party platter. We're just gonna coin that phrase. Like, stop putting
It's
more
like
in the party
it's the Super Bowl size
platter. Right.
party platter.
And so, I think that is really important in just taking inventory in where we are. And I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. I'm I know that you've done amazing things, right? And you said like you've balanced between having your own interior design company and the work that you do for so many people and great clients. But you've also done this on TV. You've had like amazing networks. You just said ABC Family. I know ABC. I know HGTV. Food Network. I think like you've had
Yeah, yeah.
so many more. And so tell me what that's journey has been like to be on TV to help people beyond the one or two clients that's in front of you to now helping people across the country, even across the world.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so fun for me to be able to get out there. And weirdly, sometimes I get a little bit of like public speaking social anxiety face to face when I'm not you. I watched your TED Talks and all this. You're like, you're
No, I
just so
get it too.
comfortable up there. For one, I get a little anxious when I'm face to face in front of a crowd, but you put that camera in front of me and I am more at ease, which is usually the opposite for people, right? Um, I don't, I know that with HGTV and Food Network, I'm lucky that I have the privilege of not only being able to help people with their homes, but to be able to help small restaurant businesses. They struggle so much, and my family, my husband and I were restaurateurs. I feel their struggle. I understand. And so uh, to be able to help on a broader scale like that is remarkable. However, I always just think it's just my mom at home watching the show. Like I forget how many people are
Yes,
watching. So
yes.
so it's always pretty wild to me if somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, we love your designs or we love your show." My husband teases me in the sense that he's like, you always talk a little too long. They're probably like, "We just want to get the hell out of here." This girl just keeps talking to us.
He was like, "Really? You saw me?"
Yeah.
No, a lot of
I'll
people have
over
told
ask
me.
them questions. I'll be like, "Oh, so tell me about your house and where do you live?" And blah, blah, blah. Like I go on and on and on. And Brian's always like, "Girl, I just wanted to say hi. That's it."
No, no, but I think that does also just say something about you and your personality and your ability just to engage people. I mean, I'm a witness, right? From the first time we met, like just feeling so connected and so comfortable. And you have that way, right? You have that ability on screen and in person to be able to do that. And we know not everybody can do that. And yeah, your mom is watching, but a lot of other people. I feel like but I get it too, right? I get the thought of like sometimes not remembering who's out there. And sometimes you have to not remember. Because if you thought like millions
Right.
of
That's
people are
true.
watching me right now, that probably would not be good. And so
Right.
I just love that you've been able to do that. And so this is, I'm curious about these moments where you're helping people on this larger scale. Like, what does it feel like to know that some of your ideas or projects or the shows or episodes you're working on really are inspiring people? Like, how does that feel for you?
we do a reveal, right? So I'm lucky enough that I'm in an industry where these makeover shows always have a reveal, right? And when I'm doing the makeover with our team, I sometimes it's tough because TV schedules are tight and construction, if any, and I know you just underwent a construction project that never goes as planned, right? There's always setbacks, there's always holdups. So, and there's always uncovered things where you're like, oh man, I didn't know that that was the situation here. So there's a lot of variables involved. So we get really focused, laser focused on the project at hand, getting done on time, finishing it up. But sometimes it's easy to forget actually why we're there and why this makeover is happening until we do the reveal. Nice. Then the reveal happens and tears and emotions. And then I always, on every episode, I always sit back and I think of how I feel like that makeover, which seems very materialistic, but it's not, it's way deeper than that. How that makeover has affected that person internally, mentally, you know, all of it, like especially with the restaurants and their business and how you feel now when you walk in the door, even if it's your house or your restaurant, your business, how you feel when you walk in, what that does to you. And maybe it is just a paint color, maybe it is just a throat pillow, whatever. But if it gives you some kind of happy endorphins, then that's going to carry throughout the rest of the day. You're going to be a little happier that day. You're going to smile a little bit more, you know, or for the businesses with the restaurants, when they walk in, they're proud. They feel pride about their business and they are going to work harder, therefore make more money, live a better life. So I'm not trying to say it's all because of the design, but it certainly is a starting point.
No, I think, you know, it is a great feeling to be able to do that, just hearing that. And like I said, I'm a witness, right? I've been able to experience some of that on a small level. You know, Taniya's one of my good friends, and I that I've been able to meet in this most, you know, recent time in the past, you know, 2 years. And you know, I had to do a project at my home, and who do I call? I call on my friend, and she was so gracious to just give me some thoughts about what I was doing. And I'm so thankful, right? Just yesterday, my children were playing on the chalkboard wall that we created, right?
Good.
I wasn't even thinking about that, right? And so this thought of like creating a space that your family can really enjoy and feel happy, you know, like I remember my wife would say like, I don't really like basements, right? But she spends time in the basement now, right?
Now,
right,
yeah.
now, right?
Right.
And so I think that there's a way that it is transformative, right? It is an impact. And if you feel better in your business or in your home or in your restaurant, from my vantage point, that changes how you feel. That changes how you interact with other people.
Correct.
Your day, and so like you're there changing lives. I love it.
Yeah, and you know, I know everybody's budget is different, but there is something that can be done at any budget. And it could even just be cleaning and organizing. So if somebody's going to clean up and organize their space, it's going to free their mind a little bit more to focus on other things. So, you know, it's something I'm very passionate about. I love what I do. But I will say, I've often thought about this. If I only did TV, I don't know if I would be as fulfilled. If I only did my business, I don't know that I would be as fulfilled. I like being able to have both. And I think it's what gives me a little bit of sanity in the sense that if a show doesn't happen for 6 months or something like that, or a year, who knows, that I have something else that is still keeping that fire, you know, fueled.
Right. And your creativity and your skills allow you to do things across, you know, these platforms, which I think is really, really awesome. So with all that you've done, all these amazing things that we're talking about, can you think of something, a moment that you felt like really great for you, or a successful moment, or a moment that stands out for you throughout your career so far?
Yeah, yes. That's an easy one for me, actually. So I had auditioned to be a brand ambassador for Ellen DeGeneres. So she had a product line that was being launched on QVC, but normally it's always the person who owns a product line is the person that goes and sells it on QVC. Ellen was the first and so far to date that I know of, the only exception that they made, because she films her show in LA. She's so busy, but QVC is based out of Pennsylvania. So they needed a brand ambassador.
Okay.
I auditioned for it. Tons of people auditioned for this gig. Tons of people. They made it down to like the final 9. And then in order to really be selected, we had to do an on-air kind of, not a screen test with her, but with one of the QVC hosts. But then Ellen watched the final 6 or 9, and she made the final selection, who she wanted to be her brand ambassador. So I got the job. And
Awesome.
Part of the introduction was that she wanted me on her show, and she was going to introduce to everybody that I am her new brand ambassador.
That's awesome.
No pressure, right? No pressure whatsoever.
No.
Here I am. Can you imagine this moment? I'm backstage, and essentially what she wanted to do was, she's basically said, Tanya, when you're on QVC, it's live and anything can happen. So you have to be prepared. So she did this thing with me where I was going on stage, and she was going to blow bubbles in my face while I was doing the pitch. She was like blowing a horn in my ear, beating a drum, throwing confetti, spraying that string, string stuff all over me.
String or whatever.
Yeah. And I had to stay focused and actually get through the whole pitch of like selling the product, the lawn ornament, the bowls, the candles, the this, that. It is absolutely so hysterical. I'll send it to you after we're done here. You have to watch it. But I was backstage gearing up for this moment. And I remember thinking, okay, Tanya, I had a full-on legitimate panic attack. And I thought, it's not just Ellen. I just met Ellen. Yeah. I just met her. Like, I got to have tea with her right before going out there, so there would be a little connection. Just met Ellen. All of the QVC execs were watching. Every brand that I was representing, all of the people who owned those brands were watching. The people on Ellen's team that hired were watching. My management, like, there were all of the people were and then let's not forget a live studio audience, and however many million people tune into Ellen DeGeneres' show, right? And I started like panicking backstage. It was like the 2 minutes prior. Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, don't F this up, Tanya. You know what I mean? Like, this could be career suicide for me right here at this moment if it all goes south. And being a doctor, I hope that you'll appreciate where I'm coming from with this, because some people think I'm Looney Tunes when I tell that this happened. I literally stepped outside of my head, outside of my body, and I had a conversation with myself.
Yes.
And I told myself, I said, I envisioned that this self that I was having the conversation with was like a bully, like a person that was always trying to ruin something for me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you're not going to ruin this for me. You can't. I've worked too hard. Right. I have like pushed my whole life to get to this point. You cannot ruin this for me. And that was it. And I went out there and I crushed it.
I love that in so many ways. And I'm not surprised that you crushed it, but I really love, we all have this negative self-talk that can happen, right? And I think we all do it. And it loves to show up in big moments. And,
oh, yeah.
And, it's interesting, like earlier we were talking about when you're on TV, you don't remember the 12 million people or the however many millions.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But with Ellen, and in that moment, you felt the weight of all the people. And
I have goosebumps right now thinking, like I still get like the goosebumps thinking about it.
I can imagine. I mean, it was a huge moment. And most people, if anyone was to say like, oh, I wasn't nervous or anxious or overwhelmed, they're lying, right?
Liar.
Yeah. And so the fact that you were able to then say, this is my moment. And bully, you are not going to stop me. Negative self-talk, you're not going to stop me. I'm going to go out there and own this. And I love that, because I wish myself and others would do that more, that we would own the moments, whether it's a test, whether it's an audition, whether it's a job, whether it's a proposal, I mean, whatever, like own the
Yeah.
moment. So I love that you were able to do that.
Oh, it was almost a blackout type of moment for me. Like it was all literally like I was paralyzed, paralyzed with fear. And when I get nervous, sometimes my voice quivers. It sounds like I'm going to cry. And I was like, I can't even let that happen. Like this is not the time. This is not the time for that.
So, and Ellen is just, full funny and full of antics. So she's doing all this stuff while you're there.
Oh, she was, I mean, really laying it on hardcore, spraying confetti in my face. And I just had to keep going, just keep going. Because her whole thing was, you're my new brand ambassador. And you got to be ready for anything. I'm like, okay, there it goes.
Who did you talk to after that moment?
My husband.
Hmm.
Yeah. And actually, so my makeup artist that came, she's actually a really good friend of mine. And I wanted her there as comfort for me. And I figured, oh, this is good. I can bring her in as my makeup artist, but she's
Right.
my comfort. So yeah, my
That's awesome.
husband.
So your husband,
Okay.
a makeup artist, was there for you, and something I've said to other people, like your tribe, right? Part people who are
Yeah.
in your tribe that were able to be there for you to celebrate with you and enjoy that moment. That just sounds really great and magical. And I guess on the other side, can you think about moments where there was a setback or disappointment and that really stands out for you?
Um, it's funny. You say that you would think things would just come to mind, but I think it's because of the approach of how I think about things. I don't always really think about the
Good.
setbacks, you know what I mean? So I wish I had it. I'm sure one will pop up in my mind, but not at first.
Well, I mean, and I think that
Um,
that's good that it's not present, like top of mind, because like I think sometimes we live with them so much that we don't realize how much space it's taken up. And it's good to hear that that hasn't been the case for you. Um,
I have the things that really affect me is when I feel like somebody comes uh like somebody I work with that I feel like I've given all of my best efforts and best intentions, but they end up not being the person that I thought they were going to be. That kind of stuff affects me more because it's more disappointment in my judge of character or my belief in that person.
Yeah, and I could see that, right? Like, and just like you're such a great people person, like in terms of how you engage, and I know that you give to people, and to give who you are, or to give your thoughts and your brilliance to people, and they just don't really take care of that or take care of you.
Mm,
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's just horrible, and I could totally hear that.
yeah.
In this work of just impacting people and their spaces and their mindset, and from TV to in person or restaurants, uh, I know that you also do work that is connected to giving back or people in need or charity. Uh, has it just always been part of your heart to give to people in that way, and how has that evolved for you?
It took me, it was a little bit probably not my whole life. I will say, as I became a professional, I realized the importance of giving back. And I feel like when I was younger, I was always a part of like Girl Scouts or whatever these groups that would give back in those ways. You know what I mean? I would go to homeless shelters. I gave back,
Right.
but it became more inherent to me as I got older that I want to give back more, and which this would be a whole other conversation. But my husband and I, we tried for years and years and years to have kids, and we were never able to. And again, this is another one of those things where I have to just say thank you and appreciate that
Yeah.
there's a reason why.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe part of my giving back, everything that I do, all of the organizations that I'm involved with Smile Train, No Kid Hungry, um, uh, right now it's Tommy's Place, Make a Wish Foundation. It's a lot of these organizations that are catered towards children. And it fulfills a void for me that I know that I can help give back to kids in some, in some ways. So, it's something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, to your point earlier that sometimes we can have these disappointments, and it's hard to be grateful for something that we really want, or we really feel it can be meaningful for us,
Hmm.
and to not have that, like for lots of people that could be having children or and so forth, and just hearing your story, but then to find some meaning in that, to find a way how to give to many children and to many families and to impact people in such a significant way. I think that's really great that you were able, you and your husband were able to find that and to do that and to maybe even find value and purpose in doing that and to have so many causes that you're connected to.
Yeah, well, I remember thinking back then when I wanted to get involved with more organizations. I remember thinking like, oh, I just don't want to just get involved with an organization just to get involved with one. I want it to feel right, and I want to feel connected and passionate about it. And then a friend of mine had invited me to this big event, and it was called Room to Dream. This is back when I was doing not for the show on ABC Family that I was telling you about, that first one. That whole show was designing rooms for kids, right? But we were just telling a story about the kid, and essentially we'd pick the parents out, and then we would go in, and but this is an example. So let's say the kid is a big skateboarder. I would do a half pipe ramp headboard. I would do skateboard decks as their bookshelf, and then whatever their favorite colors were, whatever it was, you'd walk in the room and it would just tell a story about that kid without even asking them. You know everything you needed to know about them. And so I walk into this gala, and it's Room to Dream. It's designing rooms for kids with terminal illnesses and all of their siblings. So
Oh,
not just the kid, but their siblings as well, because, they go through a
right,
lot,
right. They're
they're always
feeling it
put
too.
on the back burner, so I was like, oh my gosh, this is like everything. Can you imagine? Here I am, I'm designing rooms for kids on
Yeah.
television. They're Boston based. I live in Boston. It's giving back to sick children. I was like, and I went right up to the head of this organization, and I said, hi, my name is Taniya Nayak, and I'm going to be a part of this organization with you. So when can we meet? And I've never been so forward about anything, but I was like, I belong
Yeah.
here as a part of this. I'm a board member with them, but it's
Wow.
just something I love.
I love that. And because for me, I think about how the decisions you've made along your way from taking this chance, giving yourself permission, protecting it, being on TV, helping so many other folks allowed you to be in a space where probably not a lot of people would have been in that space or opportunity to help young children who are dealing with terminal illness and their family and siblings. That is just so
Sorry,
impactful.
I said terminal. I meant chronic. I'm not
Chronic.
terminal.
Sorry,
That's Make a Wish. I'm sorry, I meant chronic illness.
chronic.
Yeah.
Right?
Right,
But I still
right,
get the point, right? Young
right.
people who are sick and are dealing with it and navigating that, and that's so overwhelming. And like you said, still for their family, right? And I think like
Mhm.
the fact that you were able to be in that position and then to say like this is something I want to contribute to, I think is really really great.
Yeah. I love it. Love being a part of that kind of stuff. And always, as busy as life gets, always make time for it.
So I have we're wrapping up, but before I get to like some of the questions I ask at the end, there's two things that I've been thinking about as we've been talking. Um, so you're on TV a lot, and you partner up with lots of different people. If you could have somebody as your co-host, a dream co-host or a dream TV partner, who would that be?
My husband,
Really? You both have not worked
yeah,
together on TV?
he hates being in the public eye. He's the funniest guy I know. He has the best heart. He's smart. When I say funny, I mean next level. Like his humor, he's not a jokester. He's not a comedian kind. It's dry and it's on point when it needs to be there, And he's grumpy, which is like part of his personality, which is actually hysterical. The two of us are complete polar opposites. And if you had this interview with him, he'd be like, couple word answer. He'd be the worst interviewer on a podcast.
You're like, say more.
Yeah, yeah. And you're leaning in, waiting.
Well,
But
that's been a great 5-minute show, ladies and
yeah, yeah,
gentlemen.
exactly, exactly. But he is just, I think the two of us bounce off each other really well. And because he's a restaurateur, I've designed all of his restaurants. We we've learned a way to work together really well, and yeah, we kind of are yin and yang, and it's pretty funny, I think, in my opinion. So I think he'd be a great co-host.
Well, I think that's awesome. And when part of my own belief, right? When I have my own show or a part of a shows, I could totally see my wife and I doing something, and I've even had thoughts about what that could be. But she's very similar in terms of like she's not necessarily trying to be in the public eye like that, but when she is, she kills it and she crushes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yep.
I could totally
That's
see
awesome.
that. My other thought is if you could have like a dream person that you could help design their home or uh, business or restaurant
Tom
outside of
Brady.
your husband. Tom Brady. Forgot, right? They're up in the Boston area. So tell me, why Tom Brady?
I think they have impeccable taste. I think they would be fun to work with. They have a lot of homes. So I feel like they would probably give a little liberty and be like, here, have at it. And of course, the Boston thing and the Tom Brady thing and the Giselle thing. I just think all of it,
That's a show in
all of
itself,
it.
right? Just that, just the
Oh, yeah.
Bradys.
Well, and from a restaurant standpoint, if Tom Brady did open a restaurant, it would be such a cool, unique concept, with his
Yeah.
whole TB12 diet and vegan lifestyle and all that. So cool.
Not bad. And I know, Tom Brady was, had his reunion back in New England not that long ago. And I think
Mhm.
like that's pretty cool. So I guess, maybe I'm the first to hear, Tanya Nayak, celebrity interior designer, TV star, hookups with the Bradys, and does something powerful. I could see that happening.
And no one's ever asked me that before, and I've never had an answer for that. It's funny to me that it just came so quickly.
But I could
Weird,
totally see it.
actually.
I could totally see it. That could be pretty cool. Like you said, between their spaces, their personality, their taste, it could probably be a really cool thing to see and to watch.
Mhm.
Especially now, I think that they're getting a little bit more open to having people see a part of their life because I think for the most part, Tom Brady was very
Right.
very private,
Very reserved.
and I
Very
think now
quiet.
like you're seeing a little bit more of him and his family. So who knows?
Who knows?
So
We'll see.
as we end, there's a last few questions I ask. One, I wanted to find out if there's anything that you are currently working on, or anything that is something that you are a project that you're involved in right now that you can share with us.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm getting ready to hit the road to start filming the Great Christmas Light Fight. And yeah, this is now our 10th season, of which I've done 8 of them for. So the Great Christmas Light Fight, it's a show where I travel all around the country and I scope out the wildest, most insane, crazy, over the top Christmas light displays in America. And it's myself and Carter Osterhaus, who's also a fellow veteran HGTV friend. And so between the two of us, we're never together. We're always, we have a short window of time to get these lights when people put them up and before Christmas. So that's coming up. So I'm getting ready to film that. And then on every episode, we pick a winner, and that winner gets $50,000. Not enough to probably pay their electric bills, but at the same time, everyone's going LED now, so it's fine. And then in addition to that, we just got picked up for our 20th season of Restaurant Impossible.
Wow,
20 seasons. I've been filming the show for 13 years now.
gosh,
13.
awesome.
We've grown up together. And in fact, there was a ritual I wanted to tell you about at the end of Restaurant Impossible that we do, because I know that's something
Yeah.
that you like to hear about. But yeah, so that is also still pending, not pending, still going. Like we're still rolling along with it. And then there's a new one that I'm just in the paperwork signing process. So I'll keep you posted on that one. But when we talk about full circle and every single thing that we talked about on this podcast between charity, designing, life, fulfillment, it's all rolled up into this one gorgeous package for this particular show. So as soon as I get the green light and I know that everything's all set and ready, I'll keep you posted. But really, I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for you. I mean, we heard it here first, right? Tanya,
Yeah.
3 shows currently, and three different ways to impact people and their thoughts and the design and fun and giving back. And I mean, these are just really, really awesome things. And I'm glad that you were able to share. And I can't wait to hear this other thing that you're working on. And
Yeah.
and as you mentioned that, maybe, now might be a good point before I ask you these last 2 questions. What is the rituals or things that you might do before or after some of the engagements that you have?
So it's funny because the whole ritual thing, a lot of times when I go in on a set, I'm coming in a little bit after the whole team's already there, with setting up and everything. So they might have their own rituals. But one of the rituals that we do, and it's really Chef Robert Irvine, who is the main host of Restaurant Impossible, who spearheads this. He comes across as a bit of a tough guy on camera, but his faith and his belief in humanity and just good people, holding them accountable, his loyalty to the military. He's such a great human. So at the end of every shoot that we do, and everybody's working their butts off, it's a 24-hour makeover of an entire restaurant. Wow. We have people that come in out of the woodworks that want to come and help us and just work tirelessly for people they don't even know, right? These restaurant owners, they don't know them. And so at the end, he'll usually gather us all together and we'll all just talk about the experience. People share stories. People explain why they're there, what brought them there, why it was so important for them to give back. A lot of people end up crying. There's tears, and then we end it. And this is a little moment before the reveal, but after the makeover, they have to go in and do their after shots. Mm-hmm. So there's usually about 45 minutes to an hour wait before we do the reveal. So this is when he takes the time where any other host of a show could just go in their trailer or wherever and just sit quietly and take a breather and take a minute, which is fair enough. They're allowed to do that. They just working hard, but he doesn't. He fuels himself off of getting everyone together and making sure that everybody is heard and everybody's thanked and, that they're appreciated. And it's an awesome thing. And for a little while, because of COVID, we weren't able to do it. And it impacted. You could feel it across the board, how people felt were different.
No, I can just think about how that cements the work, right? That adds to the foundation of, like, yes, it's TV. Yes, it's fun. It's drama. It's entertainment. But this is impacting lives, right? Like, that's what I hear in that. Like, and you chose to show up today to impact the life. Tell me why. Let's share this with each other. Let's have community in that moment and honor what we all just did.
Absolutely.
That sounds really powerful.
That's exactly. It is. It's really special. And then it also gives all these people who are just uber fans of Robert or myself or Tom or Builder to have a moment to chat and to take photos and, not feel like they just came in and were, not recognized or acknowledged, or heard.
Last 2 questions. What does mental wellness mean for you?
I will tell you that growing up, I've always felt like a happy kid. Always just went through my life, no medications, no anything, whatever. So I didn't really understand it, to be very frank. I didn't really get it. If someone was having a bad day, I'd be like, come on, just cheer up. It's fine. You know what I mean? I'm a pat on the back. You're fine. I think now after these last couple of years, I really can understand a bit more, because I feel like I'm going through my own certain things too. And I see it amongst my employees, amongst friends and things that they're going through. So what mental wellness means to me is being able to to get up and function and feel good and live your best life. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to grasp a lot of it. But I know it's out there, and I know it's, you know, mental wellness, I know, is one thing, but mental illness is another thing. And I don't know, I'm learning, but I hope for everybody's sake and myself that people can kind of reach within and be able to focus on more positive and gratitude.
Yeah, I think those are some really significant things that you've shared today about positivity, gratitude, giving yourself permission, as we've talked about, and knowing that it's okay to be happy and to choose some happy moments, even if it feels like it starts in disappointment. And so I could hear how that connects to what you said about mental wellness and the importance of it. What mental wellness advice would you give to your younger self? And that could be as early as yesterday or many years ago.
Yeah. I would just say, be okay with saying no every once in a while. Make sure you hit the pause button and take some time for yourself. I just posted the other day on Instagram that it was a picture of my husband and I, and it was just saying something that I think that a lot of times we put more energy on the negative things in our lives when really we should put more energy on the things that are good that we take for granted. How many times you have your family right there, and all your energy is focused on something bad that's going on at work or whatever, something someone said to you or the way someone made you feel, when you can look right there and just say, you know what, I'm going to shift that. I'm shifting it. I want to focus on this more and that less.
Yeah.
I wish I told myself that a long time ago.
Well, I love that you share that. And I think that is something that we can tell ourselves. It's something I can tell myself, right? Of just being in the moment and appreciating and having perspective is really what I heard. Taniya, this has just been great. This has been Leapcast. We've been talking about lots of different moments of her amazing career, Taniya's amazing career, from celebrity interior designer, been on so many different networks from ABC, HGTV, Food Network, have 3 shows working on right now, but really your heart, your compassion, your drive, your dedication to really making people's spaces bright. Not just their living spaces, but their life. And I could just hear that. So really, thank you for joining the podcast today.
Thanks, Dr. George. You're the best. This was really great. And I love talking to you. You're so easy to talk to. And I think that a lot of people are going to get a lot from your podcast.
Thank you. Wow. What an incredible ride we just went on with another great member of the Leapcast community. I appreciate you listening and hope you got some tangible value from the episode. Please let us know what you think by leaving a comment, rating, and review. As always, please don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. This is Dr. George James, and I'll see you next time.